Hello and welcome to automateNow. This is Marco Cruz. In today's video, we're going to learn how to handle pop-up boxes using Selenium WebDriver. Let's dive in. And here we are on automateNow.io, the sandbox page. We're going to scroll down until we find the pop-up section. There are three main pop-up boxes that you will encounter. The first one is the alert pop-up. When we click on this, we see an alert come up. The alert contains a message and the OK button. To get rid of this pop-up, we can click the OK button or hit the escape key on the keyboard. The next type of pop-up is called the confirmation pop-up. When we click this button, we see a confirmation come up, and you have two buttons this time. You have the OK and cancel. Let's see what happens when I click OK. In this case, we have some custom code that displays this message when we click OK. And let's see what happens when we click cancel. A different message appears. The last type of pop-up is called a prompt pop-up. When we click on this, we not only see a message, but we also see an input box. This input box also has a default value. I'm going to leave the default value and click OK. And here we see a custom greeting message. Today I'm going to show you how to work with these two types of pop-ups, the alert and the confirm pop-ups. Let's go to the code. And the first thing that we're going to do is go to the base page class. And we're going to create two methods. The first one is going to be to dismiss the pop-up. The other one is going to accept the pop-up. To dismiss and to accept are the two main things that you can do with the pop-up. In order to dismiss a pop-up, we're going to say driver.switchTo. And this method is going to allow us to switch to that pop-up. We're going to say dot. And notice that here we can select alert, window, active element, and other things. We're going to select alert. And then we're going to say dot and select dismiss. Next, to accept the pop-up, we're going to say driver.switchTo.alert.accept. Alright, now we're ready to start writing our test. Let's go to the sandbox test class. And here we have the test that we're going to be building, test pop-ups. So let's walk through what we're going to do here. Let's go to the website. And the first thing that we're going to do is to click on this button, alert pop-up. When we click on this button, this alert is going to come up and we're going to select OK. So to begin, let's right click on this element and inspect it. And notice that we have an ID. So we're going to use this ID to locate this element. And here we're going to say sandbox page dot click alert pop-up. After we click the alert pop-up, we're going to call the method from the page class. And that method is dismiss pop-up. And this method is going to click the OK button. Now we need to implement this method here. And let's do that now. And this goes inside of the sandbox page object. We're going to return void. Next, we're going to call the click method that we have in the base page class. And notice that we need to pass in a locator. Let's go ahead and add the locator here. I'm going to scroll to the top and add the locator. And here I'm going to select by ID, and we're going to enter the ID that we found, which is this one, alert. Now we can pass in the locator to this method. Let us now go back to our test. Let me add a breakpoint here so that we can see when the pop-up is dismissed. We are at the breakpoint. Let's go back to the website. And here we can see that he has clicked on this button and we have a pop-up on the screen. Now if we go back to the code and execute this line of code, we should see that pop-up disappear. And indeed, the pop-up is gone. Next, let's go ahead and click on this confirm pop-up. So I'm going to inspect this element and we have an ID called confirm. So we're going to use that. And here we're going to say sandbox page dot click confirm pop-up. Let's go ahead and implement this method. This is also going to return void. And once again, we're going to call the click method from the base page class. And we need to add the locator. So let's go up here and add the new locator. Now we can go back down to the method and pass that locator. Let's go back to our test. And after we click the button to open that pop-up, we're going to accept the pop-up by calling the accept pop-up method. So if we go back to the website, we're going to click this button, and then we're going to click this OK button. The last thing I want to do is to validate this text here. So let's right click this element and inspect it. And we're going to be using this ID to create a locator for this. So let's go back to the code, and here we're going to create a string variable to store the element's text. And I'm going to say sandbox page dot get confirm pop-up selection. And we need to implement this method as well. Since we're getting some text, we need to return a string. And here we're going to call the method from the base page class called getText. Now we need to pass the locator for that element that contains the text. If we go back here, we see that the ID is called confirm result. So let's go ahead and copy this and add it to this class. Now we'll pass the locator to this method. And this method is going to return this text here. And the last thing that we're going to do is to make an assertion on this text. So let me go ahead and copy this. And we're going to go back to the test. And here we're going to make an assertion. And we're going to say assert equals. And say selection result needs to be equal to the text that we see on the screen. Add our default error message. And we're all set. Let's go ahead and do a quick walkthrough of what this test is doing. And the first thing that we do is click the alert pop-up. When that pop-up opens up, we dismiss the pop-up. Recall that this method, dismiss pop-up, is first switching to that pop-up and then dismissing it by clicking the OK button. So we click here and then it clicks OK button. Then we click on the confirm pop-up and we say accept pop-up. If we look at this method here, it's switching to the pop-up and accepting it. When we say accept, it's the same as clicking the OK button. So it clicks here and then selects the OK button. Now you may be wondering why we're calling the dismiss method here and it's clicking on an OK button. And over here we're calling the accept method and it's also clicking on OK. The difference has to do with the type of pop-up that you're dealing with. So if we go back to the website, when we click here, notice that there's only one button to select, and that is the OK button. So for this type of pop-up, we could really call any of these methods here. You can pass dismiss or you can pass accept. Both of them will select the OK button. In the second scenario, we have two buttons to deal with. We have the OK button and the cancel button. If we call this dismiss method on an alert that has two buttons, OK and cancel, it will always select the cancel button. And if you call this accept method, it will always select the OK button. Let's go back to the test and notice that after we accept the pop-up, we're going to retrieve the text that gets displayed on the screen and store it in this variable. And this is the text that we're going to be retrieving. When we click OK, this is the text that appears. And the last thing that we do here is to perform an assertion to make sure that the text matches this here. This time I'm going to put a breakpoint here on the second pop-up and rerun the test. If we go back to the application, notice that we have the confirm pop-up open. It has two buttons on it. So let's go back to the code, and this time it should click on the accept button. Let's go ahead and execute this line of code and go back here and notice that the pop-up is gone. And if we scroll down, we see the text appearing here. Let's finish executing this test and notice that the test passed. And that's how easy it is to work with pop-up boxes using Selenium WebDriver. For homework, go to automateNow.io website and try to automate this pop-up here. Click on this button, enter some text, and then click OK. And lastly, validate this text here. You've come this far, so I know you can figure it out. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.